let's get into some stuff. Some of the, catch-up stuff, things that we've been wanting to talk because we couldn't podcast last week. But yeah, let's talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is going into season 2, where there was a lot of talk about season 1 and it not quite living up to everyone's expectations.
I like how you said that. You sounded a little hurt by that. You did. You sounded a little sad. Personally,
I mean, I think maybe for me it's the fact that again, we've talked about this before. I didn't hate it like some people did, and I thought that the biggest problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that it wasn't appointment viewing when I wanted it desperately to be. Like, what show should be more appointment viewing than that?
I think it really found its way in the last. I think, as we know, and we've talked about it. By the way, if you haven't seen Captain America 2. I'm going to say things about it.
Right.
After those events and the rest of the season of S.H.I.E.L.D., I thought it really found its way. I thought that really infused the show with new life. And look, a lot of series take time to find their footing. And this isn't... So you could argue that Angel definitely took time to find its footing.
Yeah, there's a long list of shows like that. So we've been getting some casting news on season 2. There was some a few weeks ago. We knew about Lucy Lawless playing a new recurring role, which is great. But there are a couple things that happened recently that got me particularly excited. For different fan reasons. Let's talk about the most recent one first, which is Adrian Palicki is going to play Mockingbird from the comics. I am so excited about this for multiple reasons.
I can probably imagine a couple of them, but why don't you illuminate some of the other ones?
I don't know if I like that inference. No, I love the character, and I grew up reading West Coast Avengers, which, if anyone read, was a small team that was actually Hawkeye and Mockingbird, his newlyweds, at the core of, with some other Avengers characters. Really love the character. I love Adrian Palicki, Friday Night Lights, and it's pretty notable because
I know she didn't mention G.I. Joe.
Didn't mention, and I didn't even dislike G.I. Joe.
Okay.
We won't talk about Wonder Woman. Well, we will maybe in a little bit, but. I think it's pretty notable because she is an Avenger. This is a character that is like a member of the Avengers in the comics that will now be introduced. It's the first character, I think, of that status being introduced on S.H.I.E.L.D. first.
Right, which brings me to my first in a series of questions.
Yes.
What, if anything, do you think that means in terms of elaborating on building, magnifying, extending the tie-ins with the movie universe? A, and B, will we see Hawkeye on TV?
I mean, I hope it means a lot, and I hope it means yes on Hawkeye. But even if they don't, one thing that, they need to make S.H.I.E.L.D. feel more important and part of it. And, I mean, I think we all understand that the movies are going to be like the big events, right? But at the same time, even just the first time, Melinda May can pop up in a Captain America movie for a scene, it'll help a lot.
I agree.
Because right now the TV show exists, and yes, it's part of the universe, and they've had some cameos from the movies and the TV show, but I hope it does go the other way, and we can start to see that flow back and forth.
I mean, they had definitely Nick Fury had a good. I thought he had a sizable presence, particularly right there in the finale.
Yeah.
Like he had a huge presence. There were little cameos here and there, but I think that you're right that it's actually more important to bring them a little bit into the movie universe than the reverse. To have more of the movie universe come into the show.
Yeah.
In an odd way, I think that will help things. But they're obviously really tying it together. I mean, look at how deeply connected Cap 2 and S.H.I.E.L.D. were.
Yeah. And
so I think this is a really interesting casting choice heading into season 2 because I can think that they're like, that really worked. More of that, please.
Right. And casting her, I mean, it's like, down the line, could we see Adrian Palicki has Mockingbird in an Avengers movie?
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it's a really good question.
Yeah.
I don't want to switch gears, but I'm really excited just because he's Kyle MacLachlan
yes.
about Kyle MacLachlan and who he's playing.
Yeah, which I think
we
can say who he's playing. It goes. I talked to someone on Twitter about it goes by it was in a press release. We can talk about it now. Marvel.com listed it. So he's playing. We don't know who he's playing exactly. We just know he is Skye's father. Dad. Yeah.
Which is so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, because all we've seen of Skye's father is like this weird, bloody, drippy, like as if he were coated in blood. Like as if he were just showering and bathing in it.
His blood shower he takes every morning.
Who do I want to see bathe in blood more than Kyle MacLachlan? The answer is no one, period. That is the person I want to see bathing in blood.
Kyle MacLachlan is awesome. We're both, Twin Peaks fanatics.
Yes.
Agent Cooper, one of the greatest characters ever, and I'm really excited to see. And it is kind of amazing, like when I think about like all these actors, be like, well, Kyle MacLachlan is now part of the Marvel universe. Whatever he's playing, I don't know. But
I think it's cool because I think we're assuming right now that her dad is going to be somewhat villainous, because usually the good guys are not bathing in blood.
Right.
It's usually the villain.
Captain America only does that like once every 3 months.
If that. But I think that he has the ability to play that kind of nuanced character that maybe isn't, like, he'll be introduced maybe in a villainous way, and then it'll come out like, oh, it's even more complicated than that, and actually this guy's really dangerous, and we're trying to save the world, and it's complicated family matters. I just love this casting. I think that's the thing that I'm most excited to see, just because of who he is.
Yeah. I'm really excited about both for different reasons, and and
that storyline's very interesting to me.
Right, and one of the biggest problems that season 1 had, though, was the slow burn that was too slow.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very excited even just to hear that Sky's father has been cast, because I think they've heard the criticisms maybe even more than they've acknowledged. And so I was, going to season 2, I'm like, I really hope they pick up the pace, and knowing that they're going to deal with Sky's father early on. I mean, he's already been cast, so that means he must show up in the first few episodes, is encouraging.
Should I state for the record right now, I think it's do you share this theory with me that she might be an Inhuman?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
who had the theory? It doesn't matter.
Right.
This is the going theory. I think, well, we talked about who could be Inhumans, and she's definitely a good option.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's wondering, like, there's obviously more to Sky than meets the eye. They've already inferred that. How does she connect to mysterious blue corpse from season 1? Especially coming off of Guardians of the Galaxy, where we saw all manner of blue-skinned races.
I know.
So there's been a lot of talk about the Inhumans, and the idea that Marvel is trying to push the Inhumans as a bigger deal in both comics and eventually the film universe. So could she be the sort of way to
one of
see
the
that?
Seeds.
Yeah,
because I felt like they were seeding things as much as Cap 2 affected S.H.I.E.L.D. They were seeding things that happened in that movie. I thought in S.H.I.E.L.D. also.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like this is maybe a different thing, but Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver could be Inhumans, and which ties things even more together. Yeah. Possibly, I'm not sure.
No, I mean, that's definitely, because we're wondering about the whole how do they get around the mutant thing. And miracles. And the other casting we should mention, although the name might not be as familiar to as many people, although Teen Wolf fans like my wife, they'll know. But an actor named Brian Patrick Wade is playing the Absorbing Man in the season premiere. Again, notable because Absorbing Man is the biggest level supervillain that they've put on this show. Someone who, if you read comics, has been around forever. He's fought the Hulk and Thor and the Avengers many times. He's a pretty big deal. And it just seems like...
I mean, he doesn't want to brag or anything.
He doesn't want to brag or anything. He kind of does. I think it just shows a lot of what we're talking about, especially Mockingbird and Absorbing Man, is they have been listening to people saying, like, we understand you can't use Iron Man, and we understand that there's certain things off limits, but Marvel's huge, and don't avoid it to the degree that season 1 seemed like it sometimes was.
I think so, too. And I think that Marvel is very responsive as a studio to the fan base when it is something they can respond to, and that it is an overwhelming tide. You know what I mean? I think that they do.
The rising tide?
It is the rising tide. Yes, I mean, I think they do really listen, and they try to sort of take that in, and I think we're seeing that now with this cast. I'm high of hopes for this coming season.
Me too. And I know we've complained before that we're bummed that it sounds like DC is not going to do the shared universe between the film and TV shows.
They'd said definitively
they're not doing it. But meanwhile, I do. You have to understand that how complicated it is to say they are, and that every time they cast someone on S.H.I.E.L.D., that's it. That's the Absorbing Man. That's Mockingbird going forward. Yeah. I mean, not that recasting hasn't happened, but they don't want to if they don't have to. And so it's making a major decision, and I feel like there maybe was discussions that let's make S.H.I.E.L.D. count more this year and cast some of these characters that really could be major players down the line, because one day Adrian Palicki and Jeremy Renner might be doing a wedding storyline, whether on TV or
in the movies, depending. Probably in the movies.
Probably in the movies.
Considering with Renner. But, I mean... I understand both choices. I understand DC making that choice also to say it's too complicated. It's just going to mess up because they have 2 million shows coming out on television, and they don't want to say now definitively I can't use Constantine. That's the Constantine forever for sure. I don't think they want to say that, for example.
Yeah.
Not that necessarily that would be the first character, that would pop up in a movie, but they have so many happening. And well, so does Marvel with all the Netflix stuff. But yeah, I can understand making the decision like we're going to separate it. I think it's going to be fun to watch the two things evolve differently.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting experience. A little
like the first time you have a DC character that's both in a show and in a movie and it's a different actor. I want to see what happens. What's the
People's heads explode.
Everybody dies. It's the end of the world. Apocalypse.
But meanwhile, we're excited to see what happens with S.H.I.E.L.D. in a few weeks. All right.